Hello, it is Shelby here, and thank you so much for joining me with week 2 for our beginner yoga journey. Today we're going to be talking about a few of the common shapes in yoga. I find that having a sense of familiarity of some of these poses just makes it easier to walk into a group class so that you know what the teacher means when they say Warrior 2 or Warrior 1 or High Crescent Lunge. So we're going to go over what those shapes are, and we're also going to talk about our core engagement, what we call Udabba Banda in yoga, which is this idea of tightening the core, and we'll get into more detail on that shortly. So if you are ready, join me on your mat and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we get started, I want to talk to you first about Udabba Banda, which is that core, that low belly engagement. So we kind of want to think of this crunching sensation of your rib cage and your hip bones, your frontal hip bones cinching together. So it's almost like we're shortening this area. The tailbone will slightly scoop underneath you, and the rib cage and the hip bones are cinching together. So this is going to be really supportive in pretty much everything that we do in yoga, and it's also going to prevent you from dumping into your low back, which could result in injury and pain and just not what you want. Okay, so now we're going to go over Warrior 1 pose. The Sanskrit term is Virabhadrasana 1. And I'm going to show you with my right foot forward and my left foot back to start. So if you're following me, you might just bring your hands to your hips and step your right foot forward and your left foot back. Make sure that there is a little bit of separation. So as if there was a line in the middle of your mat, right foot is on the right side of the line, left foot is on the left side of the line. You'll ground your back left heel at a 45, and you'll bend your front right knee. So notice if your hips are opening out to the left, you're going to want to draw that right hip back, left hip forward. Finding that Uddiyana Banda, so we're not dumping and arching into the low back, but rather Uddiyana Banda, core is engaged. We're pushing through the outer edge of that back left foot. Finally, the arms go up. So this is what the full expression looks like. Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1 pose. Your hips are squaring to the front of the mat. You're driving through the outer edge of the back foot, and you're bending the front knee. Your arms are extending, and your shoulders are simultaneously softening. And we feel maybe some strength in the right leg, but hopefully you feel a pretty deep stretch in the front part of your back left hip. So of course, the other side, the same thing. And again, this will make more sense, but it's important in Warrior 1 that your hips are squaring to the front of the mat, not opening out to the side. Next up is Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So we're going to take a nice wide stance. I'm going to start with my right foot, so right toes to the front of the mat. Left toes are to the long edge of the mat. Front right knee will bend, and your arms go out to a T. Your hands are a direct extension of the shoulders, so they're not up, they're not down, but they're right at shoulder height. And also, we're not reaching forward, we're not reaching backwards, but we're right in the center, hips, or shoulders over hips. And so you'll notice I was talking a lot about squaring your hips to the front of the mat in Warrior 1. And in Warrior 2, your hips are opening to the long edge of the mat. So showing it now on the left side, once again, we have our Uddiyana Banda, our rib cage and our hip bones drawing together. And we're not allowing our bum to poke out and back behind us. That's not what we're trying to do. Okay, so now that you've got your Warrior 1 and your Warrior 2, we're going to go over our High Crescent Lunge. Once again, I'm going to start on my right foot forward, left foot back. So we are bending our knee just like you would in a lunge if you've ever seen a lunge before. This is different from our Warrior 1. My back heel is lifted rather than grounded, but it's similar in that my hips are squaring to the front and that my arms are going straight up, biceps by your ears. In this pose, you want to firm up your back quad. And again, you guessed it, we're not arching our back, we're not poking out our bum, but rather we have our Uddiyana Banda engaged. rib cage and hip bones cinching together. And so now I'm doing my left side, gotta stay even. And you see that my hips are squaring to the front of my mat, and my back heel is lifted. My biceps are framing my ears. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you feel familiarized with some of these really common shapes, and this will help with your confidence when you choose to join a group class. See you next week, and namaste.